What's going on, guys? I'm Robbo. Welcome to my channel. This is a review of Clash of Champions 2020. I've been writing reviews for a long time, but I noticed over on my YouTube that my pro wrestling content gets a bit more views than my gaming content. So here we are. I've put my review into video form. Please enjoy WrestleWatch Clash of Champions 2020. If you enjoy it, give it a like, subscribe, turn those notification bells on so you get notified every time I upload. That would be a massive help. Thanks, guys. Quick turnaround here for the modern day WrestleWatch review. I've got some time off work, which means I've got more time for my love of pro wrestling. We looked at the first Night of Champions from 2007 the other day. The review is in the link in the description. And now we look at today's show, Clash of Champions. Whether it's a night or a clash, the concept is still the same. All championships must be defended on the show, at least those on Raw and SmackDown. Sorry, NXT, NXT UK, and 205 Live, you guys and girls didn't make the cut. So, let's look at what did. Alright, so for a bit of context here, WWE Drew McIntyre has done an admirable job since WrestleMania, anchoring the Raw brand as its top babyface. And on the other side of the character alignment, top heel Randy Orton has absolutely been killing it all year. Almost 20 years into his wrestling career, and Orton feels as fresh and relevant as ever. Orton and McIntyre have had a couple of quality singles matches as of late, but after the Legend Killer upped the ante with some sneak attacks that hospitalized the champ, the title is on the line again in an ambulance match. Over on the Blue brand, Roman Reigns has turned heel, aligned himself with Paul Heyman, and won the Universal Championship via nefarious means at Payback a few weeks ago, deliberating for a long time on whether to sign the contract for a title match, so long in fact, that he signed it in the middle of a scheduled triple threat match between The Fiend and Braun Strowman, essentially conducting a Money in the Bank cash-in. The contract also apparently had the stipulation that Roman could pick his next challenger, so he chose perennial tag team competitor Jey Uso, who also happens to be his cousin. Cries of nepotism abound, but Jey really wants to make the most of this opportunity. So Reigns KOs him with a Superman punch on the go-home episode of Smackers. Let's do this. So the Kickoff Show. The big news from the usually uneventful Kickoff Show: Nikki Cross, Nia Jax, and Shayna Baszler are not medically cleared to compete on the pay-per-view. Cross was set to challenge Bayley for the SmackDown Women's title, and Jax and Baszler are the reigning Women's Tag Team Champions. So, those matches are scrapped, meaning that despite the billing, not all championships will be defended on this show. The card gets a little reshuffling here. Asuka and Zelina moves to the main card, and the SmackDown tag titles are on the line now. Match 1, SmackDown Tag Team Championship, Cesaro and Nakamura defeat the Lucha House Party at 10 minutes 45. So given the talent involved, this was in the upper echelons of what you would expect from a kickoff match. The great mix of Lucha House Party's fast-paced, high-flying style against the power game and striking acumen of Cesaro and Nakamura made for a very exciting match to watch. Dorado appeared slightly compromised with a leg injury, but was able to return to the match later and hit a few signature spots. The hot tag to Kalisto was built to really well, but ultimately, the developing synergy of the tag champs prevailed. I give this one 3.25 stars. And that brings us right to the main card. And match 1 was for the Intercontinental Championship, a triple threat ladder match. Sami Zayn defeated Jeff Hardy and AJ Styles at 26 minutes 35 seconds. So they're setting the bar super early. This was the match I was looking forward to the most on this show, and these three great performers brought it. It's getting harder and harder to do inventive things after seeing 25 years of ladder matches, particularly when they're more frequent in the modern era, but Sami Zayn managed it. In a move that was very on brand for his Weasley heel character, he handcuffed both of his opponents to ladders, enabling him to climb up and retrieve the belts unobstructed, becoming the undisputed IC champion. The match also had its requisite number of high spots and carnage, but this was a beautifully done opener, Follow that, everyone. I gave that one 4.5 stars. Really incredible performance from all three guys. Then backstage, R-Truth was dressed as a gold miner, because the tagline for this show is the Gold Rush. He walks out into the hallway and is rolled up by Drew Gulak. Gulak becomes the new 24/7 champion. I guess they did say that every belt was being defended on this show. Match 2 was for the Raw Women's Championship, moved up from the pre-show to the main card. Asuka, the reigning champion, defeats challenger Zelina Vega in about 7 minutes. This one went about the way it should have gone. Zelina is someone who has shown some wrestling ability in the past, but has also spent 95% of her WWE NXT run as a manager. So she got a little opportunity to display her skills with great speed, strikes and submission shown, but ultimately the tenured champion got the better of her in relatively short order. No pun intended, sorry Zelina. I gave that one 2 stars. Basic match, but fine. Then we go to match 3 for the United States Championship. Defending champion Bobby Lashley with the Hurt Business defeated Apollo Crews with the Ricochet at 8 minutes 15. I'm ready for these two guys to wrestle like anyone else now. They don't have bad matches, but it's definitely getting repetitive. Also, it's quite jarring to see the heel cleanly defeat the face so much. It happened at Payback and again here. This did have a few nice spots, such as Crews landing on his feet on a faux Dominator attempt. Ron Simmons' version will always be the real one. And following up with a standing shooting star. Samoa Joe, who had a couple of weeks off commentary, mistakenly called Lashley's finisher the Full Lashley, but they just renamed it to the Hurt Lock for some inexplicable reason. Gave that 2.25 stars. They had a little step up with a few new moves and some good energy. And match 4 is for the Raw Tag Team Championship. The Street Profits defeated Andrade and Angel Garza in 8 minutes 15 as well. Like the previous match, we've seen this combination roughly a million times now, but also like the last match, they stepped it up another gear to bring something impelling. A few unique tandem moves between Andrade and Garza after the commentators mentioned that they could beat Ascension. They seemed to work really well together, so maybe it was Zelina Vega that was the problem. The referee botches the finish, calling for the bell after a clear kick-out at 2. That damaged what was otherwise one of the better efforts in the series between these two teams, so it gets 2.5 stars. Then we get a bit of a change-up in the card. For the SmackDown Women's Championship, Bayley defends the championship against Asuka. Actually, Asuka defeats Bayley technically, but it was via DQ, so Bayley keeps the belt. The match lasted 3:45. It was more of an angle than a match, but it was a very effective one. Bayley was originally set to face Nikki Cross, but she seemed happy to take a victory by a forfeit, quickly throwing out an open challenge, but calling in a referee to raise her hand before anyone could realistically answer the call. Before the referee could make it official, the music of the Raw Women's Champion hit. Blindsided by the surprise, Bayley got beaten up thoroughly by the Empress before grabbing a steel chair and thwacking her opponent with it. What a role model. And that gets 2 stars. But that's not all. Post-match, Sasha Banks hits Bayley with a chair from behind. Of course, Michael Cole had to get in his contractually obligated "It's boss time" line. Sasha, still wearing a neck brace from Bayley's attack several weeks ago, continued to get revenge, but eventually the champ was able to bail. Sasha stands tall as the rapping of Snoop Dogg ends the segment. Then it's over to match 6, one of our main events. For the WWE Championship, Drew McIntyre defeats Randy Orton in an ambulance match at 21:35. This was physicality and intensity personified. Orton finally got his comeuppance for the weeks and months of attacks, not just on McIntyre, but the legends that he's taken out. Big Show, Christian, and Shawn Michaels had fun cameo spots that added juice to the match. This was almost Attitude Era-esque in how heated the brawling was and the extended scope of it, briefly going backstage and all around the arena. Both men were beaten and bloody by the end, and there was a nice bit of poetic justice with McIntyre hitting the punt on the Legend Killer. Both men put in an absolute shift in this one. I give it 4 stars. Then it's over to the main event from the SmackDown brand for the Universal Championship. Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman defeated Jey Uso via TKO at 22 minutes 55. This couldn't be your standard competitive pay-per-view main event. A quick squash wouldn't have accomplished much either. So even though this ran for the length of a normal main event, it was structured very differently, with an emphasis on storytelling and hitting a number of dramatic notes. Reigns dominated his cousin, and was very verbal throughout, first demanding that Jey stay down, and when he wouldn't stay down, he continuously demanded that Jey acknowledge him as the tribal chief. He also had fun exchanges with Paul Heyman and referee Charles Robinson throughout as well. Eventually, Jey mounted something of a comeback with great fire, only for it to be snuffed out with a clever hidden low blow. Reigns kept up the intensity in beating down his cousin, which drew Jey's brother Jimmy out. After some will he, won't he back and forth, Jimmy throws in the towel to save his brother. This was an emotional roller coaster which did an outstanding job of cementing Reigns' new heel character, and that gets 4 stars as well. My overall thoughts? This was a very good effort for a B-level pay-per-view. The opener and last 2 matches were of a high standard, with all participants busting their ass to entertain the virtual crowd. After watching the first Night of Champions, Vengeance 2007, I'm a little disappointed that they didn't splice in footage of classic title wins, or maybe get some recorded interviews with former champions. Although the opener with John Cena's narration, that was a nice touch. More of that would have helped. That aside, the wrestling action here ranged from excellent to good, with the top end living up to what major pay-per-view matches should be, and the mid-card holding up its end of the bargain. Definitely a fine event, worth going out of your way a little to watch. I give that an overall score of 7.5 out of 10. Till next time, I'm Robbo. Take care. Don't forget, if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, turn on those notification bells so you get notified every time I upload a new video. We've got gaming, we've got pro wrestling, and we've got a bit of music as well.